Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is my review of Picard episode 3. I, uh, I, usually I check on a video for the first couple hours, and the review for episode 2 did really poorly. So I was like, probably won't review every episode. But I just peeked at it, and it did fine. After a couple days passed. So, Picard episode 3. This is the weirdest compliment I've ever had. I fell asleep in the middle of the episode, like flop over on the couch, wake up like 5 hours later in the middle of the night, and I'm just fine with that. It's that type of a show. It's very slow. It's very eventual. They're trying to solve a mystery that started 10,000 years ago. So nobody needs to rush. Nobody needs to trip, going up or down stairs. We'll get there. Believe me, we'll get there. So this was the third episode, and they finally went into space, or they started to. Picard said engage, and then they took off in the least Star Trek looking spaceship I've ever seen. Man, I just really like this show. It's very slow. It's very easygoing. I feel very comfortable. I just slipped off into a blissful sleep. So this one, he's getting the team together, and we got to meet a character named Raffi, which to me is the name of a dog. It's not a human name, Raffi, and he even talks to her. Like when he calls her, he's like, Raffi, like you know how you're calling your friend Michael, you go, hey Michael. But if there's a dog named Michael, you'd be like, Michael, like that. He does that thing, and it's a very like dog style name. But Raffi is a former colleague of his during Starfleet, when he basically said, do this or I'll resign. They're like, all right, resign. So then for some reason that destroyed her career, or she was also kicked out. She's like, oh great, now I got to talk to the CNC. You cost me my career. I was like, that was a lot of guessing. I don't know. I don't think I mentioned on this channel, but on my other channel, I do comics, so I get to do Expendables comics. We got Sylvester Stallone co-writing with Chuck Dixon, who co-created Bane. So for the first time, since this became public, I went back and watched the movie, and it's funny. Like now, it's like work related for me to watch it, so it's like, oh, I'm consulting the text. So at one point, Tool Mickey Rourke is talking to Barney Ross, Sylvester Stallone, and he gets a call. He's like, yeah, okay, cool. And he's like, what do you got? He's like, I got three jobs for you. 2 a walk in the park, and 1 2 whatever, to hell and back. And I'm like, we saw your entire phone call. We saw you pick up the phone. We saw Stallone not do anything, just basically wait for the phone call to end. There was no like when they do in the edits, like the like to imply like a lot of time went by. No, you were on the phone for 5 seconds. How did you get all that information? That's what I'm saying. All she got was like a text from the CNC, and she didn't say, oh, the CNC just fired me by text. They said they need to see me. They could have been saying, hey, we just let Picard resign, so we need someone to take his place. So anyway, I've got to do a little stop on this one. Michelle Hurd. Wow, she is beautiful. Oh my gosh, I didn't know her at all. I thought when I first saw her, I was like, I think I've seen her in like shampoo commercials or something like that. But I don't really watch a lot of TV, especially not network TV. So I didn't know she's been in like everything for the last 20 years. Apparently, like every single year or two, she gets on another TV show. So she plays someone whose life is kind of destroyed by Picard. She's out living in the desert. And there's some really great, like I said, like I would swear like a third of this episode is just conversations between Picard and Raffi. They haven't seen each other in, 14, 15 years, and they're kind of, getting up to speed. It's a classic thing. It's like, she's all bitter, but there's one part, there's 2 things that I actually love. Now, some of the stuff is kind of the standard, don't talk to me ever again, go away, I don't want to see you here ever again. But one of my favorite parts is one point they're talking, and she grabs some, I think they call it snake plant or something like that. Basically, it's you get the feeling it's some sort of drug. You also get the feeling that it's not something she would have been allowed to smoke while she was in Starfleet. So she takes it out very ostentatiously, and she like puts in a pipe, and she starts smoking it, and she's like just staring him right in the eyes, like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Captain? What are you gonna do, Admiral? I'm smoking weed in your face. The other part that I liked a lot is at one point, she's, talking about how her life was kind of destroyed by, she doesn't have any goals, or guidance now that she's not in Starfleet anymore. And she goes, you didn't check on me. And I was like, as someone who was in the military, that one got me like hard, like in the chest. I was like, oh, who have I not checked on? Who should I be checking on? Why am I assuming everyone is fine? Wow. So, I mean, I don't know. If you've never been in the military, I don't think that would quite be the mule kick to the solar plexus that it was for me. But she acted, I think her portrayal of her acting probably conveyed that quite well. We got to see more of the team. I got very, 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 very confused because at one point we meet Cool Guy Pilot, and he actually has a good introduction. You first see him and he's got this giant piece of shrapnel sticking out of his shoulder, and they don't really explain why. You just kind of assume something happened. He was probably working on some, part, and something exploded. And then he has the ship's doctor, the hologram, kind of like from Voyager. But am I nuts or is it him? He's the actor for the hologram, right? I was very confused because the hair is a little different, but it's like, so we meet the pilot. I don't even remember what Raffi is. I think she's gonna be like the second in command, or is she? No, she's not the captain. She's like the head of the mission. I honestly, she was so pretty. I kind of just like, she's so pretty. Like I kind of couldn't even think. Like every time there's a shot of her face, it's like, gosh, she's so beautiful. She's doing something crucial that's related to things. I forget. I do remember Alison Pill, the drummer from Scott Pilgrim, who I made a point of memorizing her name this time. I do notice that she's there because she's an expert in synths, is what they're calling, androids, for some reason. Maybe it's because of that, like, they had to be like a certain percentage different than the original. So like we see some Starfleet uniforms from 14 years ago, and they're different, they're cool. So it could be like that's what it was on this timeline, or it could have been like right after the last movie they immediately changed their uniforms. That being said, I want to do a little sidebar. So Mike Stacklasa from Red Letter Media, Half in the Bag, one of his earliest videos, he was talking about one of the Star Trek movies, and he was talking about how there was a mix of uniforms, and he found that very, very frustrating. He's like, this is like a military organization. Wouldn't they have a rule that would say, like, on this day, we're all going to start wearing the new uniform? Well, when they do uniform changes, that is absolutely not how it goes. In fact, at least in the United States military, there is usually several years where you can wear either uniform, and they'll phase it out, over some time. But so it could have been, because now it's kind of a long story. The rights for Star Trek were split, but now they're reforming. Like a company voluntarily, it was kind of like HP. They split themselves, and now they're reforming like Voltron. So who knows? But I really like the stuff with Raffi. The thing about Alison Pill is like she had good scenes in the last two, and then all of a sudden she turned into like a Joss Whedon character, which I think is a little, I think it's supposed to be distracting you. I think you're supposed to assume that someone on the team is a traitor, and you're supposed to assume it's her because she just got spoken to, and she's kind of really, really by like this evil like Romulan commander who's disguised as a Vulcan, if I remember correctly. But I think the traitor's going to be Raffi. That's my guess. It's not a spoiler. It's just a theory. I think Raffi is the traitor. She's been out in the desert for 14 years. There's a lot of time to talk to her. But overall, I liked it a lot. I really liked this tone. Star Trek Discovery was so over the top and hyperactive and over emotional and just crazy. I also like when they get to fight. You know how 80-year-old Patrick Stewart, who's portraying 90-year-old Captain Picard, fights? He fights like a 90-year-old. He just kind of gets tossed around. He might be able to do one thing. I will say there's like this Romulan strike force that goes against him and his housekeepers, who are former intelligence officers in the Romulan Empire. I still felt like somebody needed like an injury or some more luck. Like they took out like 4 of them. Not easily, but a little too handily with no real consequences for themselves. But their other characters take the lead. Now I know Critical Drinker was really pointing that out, but it's like he's like freaking 90. Of course, people are going to take the lead for him, so that makes sense. The Irish housekeeper, Irish accented housekeeper. She's pretty cool. The little cuck husband is not as much of a cuck as you thought he was. He's got some freaking combat skills too. It's very, very like low key. I find it very relaxing. Usually I have a drink to relax. I actually found myself, I wasn't even drinking. It was just relaxing on its own. So I hope they very, very, very slowly do some other things in this vein. And upcoming, they went into, and the whole other storyline with maybe Data's daughter, maybe his clone, whatever. Again, it's very slow. It's like we're gonna just slowly introduce people, and here's a little slow mystery. I like that just fine too. I am just fine with this going as slow as hell. I'm fine with it making him fall asleep. I didn't spill my drink at all. I think I pulled one of those. I'm just gonna close one of my eyes for a second. Woke up, it was like freaking 5 in the morning. But anyway, go check it out. Have yourself a hot toddy, some warm milk. Get it under that 25-pound weighted blanket that keeps getting advertised to you on Facebook, and just enjoy the restful slumber of watching Picard. I'm being a little sarcastic, but I actually really like the show. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna review next. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Bye.